Philippine appeals court overturned the 2006 rape conviction of a U.S. Marine and ordered his immediate release on Thursday, setting off condemnations from activists to major newspapers across the country. A suburban Manila court convicted Lance Corporal Daniel Smith of raping a Filipina woman in the company of fellow Marines at the former U.S. Subic Bay Naval Base 3 years ago and sentenced him to life in prison. The U.S. base was closed in 1992 on the insistence of the Philippines, but the U.S. maintains a military presence there under a status of forces agreement. The case had become a rallying point for anti-American protests in the country. The Philippine Court of Appeals overturned the ruling, indicating the sexual act was consensual. No evidence was introduced to show force, threat, and intimidation applied by the accused, the court said in its 71-page decision, which is final. It ordered the immediate release of Smith, 23 years old, of St. Louis, Missouri, from his detention at the U.S. Embassy in Manila. Smith's lawyer said his client got the justice that he deserved, but activist groups condemned it, saying it was proof of President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo's subservience to America.
Ang kaisa kay galit na galit sa pag-acquit kay Daniel Smith sapagkat alam namin na ito ay maniobra ng Estados Unidos at ng gobyerno ni Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Nakakalungkot at kasuklam-suklam ang ginagawa ni Gloria sapagkat wala nang proteksyon ang kababaihang Pilipino sa sarili nating bansa.
In March, Nicole, the woman who accused Smith of rape, altered her testimony and emigrated to the United States in a dramatic twist in the case, saying she was no longer certain that a crime had taken place. The Philippine Daily Inquirer, the largest newspaper in the country, reports that Evelyn Ursua, the lawyer who represented Nicole before the recantation, condemned the court's ruling. It was a sweet ending to a storyline two allies have been writing all along, Ursua said. She went on, "I see this as a culmination of a long pattern to make this case go away. We clearly see political maneuverings to make us lose this. The Philippine government never supported Nicole from day one. Everything just fits, falls into place. We already saw pressure from the U.S., the hand of the U.S. from day one. We also saw how the Philippine government gave in to the pressure." The high-profile case prompted Washington to threaten to call off large-scale exercises with Manila until Smith was transferred to a detention center within the U.S. Embassy. The lawyer Ursula took exception to part of the ruling that said the prosecution had failed to prove force, while Smith was with an intoxicated Nicole inside a moving van at the Subic Bay Freeport. Ursula said, "We do not agree with that because you have to take into context that Nicole was severely intoxicated. She tried to resist, but she was too intoxicated." In the lower court, in proving rape against Smith, the prosecution had shown the evidence that Nicole was too drunk to have consensual sex when she was with Smith on the night of November 1st, 2005. The appeals court found that it wasn't rape, but a spontaneous, unplanned, romantic episode stirred by alcoholic drinks. The reversal sets a discouraging precedent for other rape complaints, Ursula said. It will discourage victims from reporting and pursuing their cases. This will influence trial courts and how they look at cases of similar circumstances where the victims are in a state of intoxication, said the lawyer. The Philippine Daily Inquirer reports that Senator Francis Pangilinan said he was disturbed by the ruling and wondered if Nicole's highly questionable recantation had a heavy impact on the court. It must be remembered that the recantation of Nicole was facilitated by lawyers of the accused. One cannot help but wonder if all that was done in order to lay the groundwork for this acquittal. The acquittal raises more questions than answers. Senator Francis Escudero said Smith's acquittal was unfortunate and only reinforces our position that the U.S. Visiting Forces Agreement carries too high a social cost and should be immediately abrogated. We believe this is as good a time as any to act decisively and finally abrogate the VFA. The time for debate and discussion is over. How many Nicoles must there be for us to realize that sovereignty should be absolute and non-negotiable? He went on, the issue of military security, which has long been the rationale for the Visiting Forces Agreement, takes second precedence to the more important issues of social welfare, the Filipinas' rights, and our national sovereignty. There are times when reality just asserts itself, in spite of the haze created by television news and entertainment. Sometimes crisis rips a tear in the fabric of myth and propaganda. Now a profound economic crisis has ripped asunder the American dream itself. Millions of people losing jobs and homes. They lack proper health care and any real sense of security. Since 2001, workers' wages have fallen or remained stagnant, even though worker productivity has risen almost 33%. By 2006, the top 1% of households were receiving 23% of all pre-tax income, more than double what it was in the 1970s. It's the greatest concentration of income since 1928. As unemployment rises, we need to know why this crisis is happening and what we can do to defend ourselves. Why are wages so low? Why is the society so laden with debt? Is it in ordinary Americans' interest to have a $1 trillion military budget to project power across the globe? Corporate television news won't ask these questions, let alone try to find answers. Only a truly independent news network can tackle these questions with courage and with ordinary people's interests in mind. We need a news network that's independent of corporations, governments, and political parties. We need the real news. But there won't be a real news network unless we raise substantial funds right away. The current financial crisis has hit our funding hard. Together, we do have the power to turn it around. There are already hundreds of thousands of people watching the real news every month. If everyone pitches in, we can build an internet and cable television network that will change the face of media forever. You can organize house parties, talk to friends at school and at work, send email blasts and spread the word. Distribute this video to everyone you know. Pick up the phone and call a few friends and suggest they visit therealnews.com. Invest just 10 minutes a day to ask friends and colleagues to join the campaign to create a truly independent source of internet and television news. Together, we can build this network. Just 50,000 people at $10 a month gets us to our first level of sustainability. You can help us reach this goal, and when we do, we'll move to television in millions of homes across North America. Help us reach an audience in the millions. Please contribute generously. Spread the word. Let's make the Real News television network a reality.
Your tax-deductible donation makes it possible. Please contribute at therealnews.com.